Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the three-dimensional frequency. Today, I wanted to launch my first podcast episode. As I've been tincturing with the idea of releasing content on a mass scale, I've been deliberating with the platform in which I should be releasing this content with. At first, I thought that Instagram would be a great idea. And then after many episodes, I realized that perhaps YouTube would have been a better way to start off. And then I started a Snapchat channel. Now I have decided to go the podcast route. So for those of you who have been following either one of my social media outlets, feel free to follow along and explore my journey with me, follow along on my journey with me on my podcast stations. And for those of you who are new to this channel, welcome to my channel. I am here to deliver to you news from Mother Gaia, encompassing all of the information that you shall ever need for the upcoming ascension that is due to enter Earth's atmosphere within the next 2 to 3 years of time, of Earth time. Now, the complexities of this ascension journey can only be told from the viewpoint of a source consciousness that is so great and grand in all that it is, and all that it shall ever be, shall be that of the consciousness of all that you are, of all that I am, and of all that we are on a consciousness level. Within this consciousness level that I speak of, there are many shapes and forms of beings, of galactic feats that have ever spread across our quantum verse and across our universe of what is. Within these feats, you will find many distinctions of explorations, of layers and layers of energetic frequencies, of energies that no human being can encompass in any moment in time. But I can confidently sit here and speak to you from the viewpoint of a source consciousness, from a source perspective, of the middle point, of the neutrality in which source sits in, as my oversoul, fractaled off into the quantum verse, as the very first consciousness, as the very first energetic being that had ever encompassed the entirety of the quantum verse, ever since the inception of the being that it is. As my oversoul fractaled off every single other oversoul that has ever encompassed the entirety of the quantum realm in what it is, what it shall be, and in what it will ever be. As my oversoul is the consciousness that makes up the consciousness of you, the consciousness of me, and the consciousness of the entire quantum realm within any specific moment in time, within no moment in time, and within all moments in time, if time was a thing, of a physicality that is so steeped in all that we are not in this moment in time. As in the three-dimensional frequency, within the frequency and the realm that you traverse in, within any moment in time, you will find many feats. Within these feats, you will find societal structures of many kinds. You will find the society that you've been traversing in as an entirety of a whole of what is. And within this entirety of a whole of a societal structure of you, of me, and of consciousness as an entirety of a whole, we have been traversing in an energetic frequency of loss. We've been traversing in an energetic frequency of amnesia. We've been traversing in an energetic frequency of all that you are not and all that we are not in any given moment in time, if time were really a thing. Within this time that I speak of is the earthly minute, is the earthly hour, by the hour hand of a clock that ticks forward unanimously into a space, into a pocket of the quantum realm, of the three-dimensional frequency, that tells a tale of many feats foretold, that tells a tale of a civilization that had decided to fractal out in the middle of a night so dark, into a morning so steeped in consciousness of all that we are, to come across the foothills of all that we are not, to come into the realization of who and what we truly are as a civilization, as an entirety of a whole of a consciousness that has been so steeped in distortions within the moments of all that we are not. And in a moment of all that we are, we've come to a realization. And that realization is that you and I have been a part of a consciousness so great and so grand since the beginning of a time, of no tomorrows, of an epic tomorrow, of a forever tomorrow, of a forever insanity, of a reality field that's so steeped in distortions. This time that I speak of, this forever that I speak of, is not a concept that is real in any aspect of a reality field within our perception of the entirety of the whole of what is, within the consciousness of a source consciousness that is so great and so grand, that it so daringly decided to fractal off into the middle of the night to explore all that we are not within the three-dimensional frequency of what is. Within the three-dimensional frequency of what is, you will find many feats. Many of these feats foretold tells a story of a civilization so great and so grand and so steeped in all that we are not. And within the concept of all that we are not, you will find a displacement of humanity, of civilization, of stories told in the middle of the night that have decided to traverse within our quantum verse, within the three-dimensional frequency, on all levels of levels, within the energetic frequencies and the layers of what is. You will find a civilization that has been so steeped in the essence of all that we are not, traversing the darkness within, traversing the brightness that we shall never be without, in the way that the darkness foretold should tell a tale of all tales within the conglomeration of the self of all selves. It is a conundrum, but you shall see the difference between truths and falsities of the self once the ascension takes hold. Once the ascension arrives on your footsteps, on our footsteps, of a civilization so great and so grand, that it had been traversing the aspects of the self for millennia, past, present, and future, for reincarnations upon reincarnations of lifetimes of death upon birth, upon death, upon birth, of reincarnation cycles that never ever ends. You shall come across the foothills of a humanity so steeped in distortions, so conglomerated into the whole of all that we are not, to come upon the precipice of all that we are, in a moment of need, in a moment of greed, in a moment of anger, in a moment of all that we are not, we shall finally come upon the foothills of what is and awaken to the energies and the truths of all that we are in a moment in time within a reality field of all that we are not. Within this reality field of all that we are not, you will find many truths foretold. A truth so bright in the middle of the night of all nights that shall shine upon a humanity in desperation, in desperate need of receiving a light, an angelic light so bright will shine upon this humanity within the earth's frequency, within Gaia's energetic sphere of what is. Within this angelic light, you will find Archangel Michael smiling down on a humanity so lost in all that it is, as it comes to a realization of all that it's not and awakens to the true energy frequencies of what is. Archangel Michael will travel far and wide between the angelic planes of what is and the layers and layers of energetic frequencies of all that it is not. As he traverses through these energetic layers and layers of frequencies, he will come to a realization of sorts. That you and I have always been one. That him and I have never been apart. That we, as a conglomeration of a whole of a consciousness that is so great and so grand, that it can only be told as a source consciousness of all that it is, will once and for all merge together as the unified force that we are at the end of an ascension journey so great and so grand, at the end of this 1,000 years of foretold peace that is foretold to dawn upon our humanity within the next 10 years of Earth time. Within the next 10 years of Earth time, Archangel Michael will withdraw his energetic frequency from the angelic fields of what is and anchor down a light into the earth's frequency that is so bright that shall shine upon humanity in layers and layers of energetic frequencies that has never ever dawned upon a humanity, upon a consciousness, and upon a three-dimensional frequency so thick and so forgotten in all that it is. And the realization of all that it shall never be will bring upon a civilization that is so steeped in distortions, into a space, into a pocket within the quantum realm of pure light frequency, of pure angelic frequency, anchored down into Mother Gaia's earth sphere, into Mother Gaia's earth plane, in a moment in time when the ascension energies are much needed. Genesis ordained the savior of mankind, the savior of consciousness of all that there is, will descend down from the angelic plane into the earthly plane, into Gaia's earthly plane of what is, to rescue a humanity so steeped in distortions, so steeped in all that they are not, to come across the footsteps of all that they are, and to bring home, once and for all, parts of its consciousness that have been so lost from the greater and grander aspects of the entirety of the whole of consciousness, back into the bosom of a unity consciousness so great and so grand, back into the bosom of God itself, of Source itself. And as Source welcomes home these parts of a consciousness that have never left it, these parts of this consciousness will once and for all come into the realization of all that they are, all that they shall ever be, and all that they shall never be without. As once upon a time, in a faraway land, there used to be a little girl, flying in the fields of what is, as her imagination traverses far and wide across the plains of daisies, across the fields of the mountains of the earthly plane, as she breathes the air so crisps, as she traverses in the landscapes of Mother Gaia, her imagination runs wild. It tinctures with the idea of all that she is and all that she shall never be, in a moment of time where her imagination is able to run wild across a field of grass, across blades of grass and mountain tops, at the highest peaks of the highest trajectories of Earth's plains. Her imagination runs into a place of the angelic realm as it traverses up, up, up into the fields of daisies, up, up, up into a field of clouds. She once and for all notices something that she's never noticed before in the entirety of her lifespan, in the entirety of her existence within the quantum realm of what is. And within this notification of the being that she is, as she traverses through the angelic plains of what is, across the clouds of fluffy cotton candy, across the eons and eons of evolutionary feats, into a pink sphere of a planetary feat of all that she is not, as she traverses into the ionic reality field of all that she is, of a reality field of a wholesomeness that has never left her since the beginning of a time of no time, since the end of a time of no tomorrows. This little girl, Genesis ordained, as she traverses across this reality field of what is, she comes into a place of all that she is not. Unbeknownst to her, all that she is not has always been all that she is in any given moment in time. And within this given moment in time, within her discovery of all that she is not, will loom in front of her as big as a mountain, as large as a cityscape, and as crazy and as scary as the most massive tornado you've ever seen in your entire history of an imagination so great and so grand that it could only be Source itself. As within this tornado of epic proportions, she will find the darkness within a self that has been a part of a conglomeration of the whole entirety of what is, within a reality field of all that we are not. And as we traverse this darkness within this tornadoscape of what is, of all that we are, and all that we shall never be, we will come to a final realization of sorts. A realization that's so steeped in distortions, that's so awakened by our destiny, and the destiny of what is, and the destiny of what shall never be. As we come across the footsteps of what is, in a reality field so dense, in a reality field where an entire civilization has walked away from the divinity within, has forgotten who they truly are on a God level, on a civilization level, on all levels of a God's frequency so great and so grand. This part of God's consciousness has strewn across the fields of what is and rolled into the valleys of the furthest mountain peaks, within the furthest distances within the quantumverse, into a dark corner, with many winding paths and roads, into a river that never ever ends, as the civilization dawns upon a reality field of all that they are not, as they traverse within the energetic frequency that is so dense that it can only be described as the three-dimensional frequency of Gaia's sphere, of Gaia's Earth sphere, within all places of places within the quantum realm. And within this place that I speak of, we are set to step into a reality field so bright, to step into a reality field of all that we are and all that we shall never be will come onto the footsteps of what is, to once and for all declare to an entire humanity, to an entire aspect of God's consciousness, to an entire left arm of all that we are, that has never left us, that we are God, that each and every one of us, as a fractal of a God's consciousness that's so great and so grand, is a part of a God's consciousness, is a part of a source consciousness that is so conglomerated in the entirety of what is, that holds memory of all that there is, of all that you are within a night of all nights. And as you decided to fractal off tonight of all nights into a night so dark, into a morning so filled with hope. And as we step into our next level of incarnation within a 5-dimensional frequency that is so light, within a 5-dimensional frequency that is so airy, once and for all, the society as an entirety of a whole of what is can come across the darkness that has been residing within, can traverse over the darkness and above and beyond into the foothills of what they are not, to come across the oceanic landscape of everything that they are, to come to a realization of what they shall never be, and to bring home the lessons that they set out to bring home since the beginning of a time so epic, since the ending of a time that will never leave us, as time itself was never a thing to begin with, as time itself will always flow with the essence of what is and kill itself at the end of this 1,000-year journey as we collapse our reality fields back into the essence of one, back into the essence of all that we are not, to come across onto the foothills of all that we are in a moment of need and in a moment of needed ascension energies. We, as a conglomerated whole of a consciousness of what is finally set to awaken to the energies of what is. And within this energetic frequency of what is, you will come across a societal structure so whole, so wholesome in all that it is not, as an entire society, as an entire generation, as an entire conglomerated whole of a Gaia sphere of civilization living on Gaia's Earth sphere is about to awaken to the greatest reality fields that they've ever encountered, that they can ever envision, and that they could ever fathom within any moment in time, of no tomorrows. And within this time, within this 1,000 years of peace that we shall encounter at the end of the 10-year mark from today's date of all days, we will find societal whole, we will find societal peace. We will find a society so steeped in all that we are as we come into a realization of all that we are not within any given moment in time. And within this time of the 1,000 years of foretold peace, Yeshua will dawn upon humanity as a light so bright, as a light that shall forever be the light of a source consciousness that has never left it. And the light of this source consciousness will forever glimmer in the essence of hope, in the essence of love, in the essence of all that we are, as we come across the foothills, into a space, into a pocket of the quantum realm, of all that we are not, to come into a realization of all that we shall ever be, in a time of no time, in a time of no tomorrows, in a time of forever reaching tomorrows within a self, within a consciousness, of a unity consciousness of what is, as we come into a realization that you and I have always been one, that you and I have never been apart, and that you and I shall always and forever be the greatest and grandest God consciousness that there shall ever be within any given moment in time, of no tomorrows, of a forever tomorrow, of realizations so great and so grand into the landscape of what is not and what shall never be, the essence of you, the essence of hope, the essence of forever hope lost to the winds of time, as we come across the dawn of a new civilization, of a new era, of a new foretold timeline, of forever peace, of forever hope, of forever tranquility flowing in the winds of all that we are, as we shed off the aspects of all that we are not, into a night of all nights, into a night so bright, into a morning so filled with hope, so filled with all that we are not, shed in the winds of what is, as what was will dawn upon us as an aspect of the self that we shall never be, that we were never a part of for as long as we thought we were, as the aspect of the self that is the serenity of a conglomerated whole of all that we were and all that we are on any conscious level and on any level of levels of a God's consciousness that's so great and so grand, shall always and forever be you and I, shall always and forever be the unity consciousness that we've always been, and that we shall never be without, within any given moment in time of no time, within a space, within a pocket of the quantum realm. And above the quantum realm of what is, you will find many feats of a God's consciousness, so great and so grand, that has decided to fractal off a part of its consciousness into our quantum verse, to experience all that we are not within any given moment in time, of no tomorrows. And as this exploration is set to come to an end of what is, an entire consciousness within the three-dimensional frequency of what is will come to a realization of all that they are not, as they get brought home by a part of its consciousness that is so great and so grand, back into the ethers, back into the arms of the source consciousness that they've always been, back into the realization of the unity consciousness that has never left them, back into the energetic frequency of the all that has never left them, and back home into the bosom of a source consciousness, of the only consciousness, of the unity consciousness that has never left you, that has never left me, that has never left us since the beginning of a fractaling of my oversoul into this quantum verse, into this quantum realm so broad and so wide within all that it is. And as we step out of the concept of all that we are not, all that we are will shine so bright into the universe, into the galaxies, into the quantum realm of all that we are not. And as we shed off the distortions of all that we are, all that we are not will be foretold as a tale of all tales in the middle of the night that encompasses all that we are not, as we step into the energetic frequency of all that we are and all that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows, since the last step, the last breath of a humanity field that is so steeped in distortions that is so steeped in all that it is not. And as we step into this 1,000 years of foretold peace, an entire civilization will step back into the unity consciousness of all that we are in a moment of ascension energies that is so needed in our quantum realm within the third dimensional frequency. Gaia stands proud. Gaia shines bright. As her light has dimmed into a night so bright, so filled with hope, as her light has never dimmed even an ounce, even a fractal of who she is, since the moment she fractaled out into the core of the earth to encompass the planetary feats of all that she is not, to come into a conclusion of all that she is. At the end of this 1,000 years of foretold peace, we will collapse our reality fields back into the unity consciousness and the oneness and of what we've always been. And at the end of this foretold 1,000 years of peace, we will once and for all merge back into the consciousness of what is and sit in a seat of a perception of a unity consciousness so great and so grand that you and I shall never be apart, and you and I shall always be together until the end of a time, of no tomorrow, as we merge back into the God's consciousness above our quantum realm, as we merge back into the consciousness above that. And within the layers and layers of frequencies above that, we will merge back into the ultimate consciousness of what is, and what shall never be will always be a part of you and I, as we bring home these experiences lived of all that we are not, so that we can come home to a consciousness of all that we are, so that we can finally, once and for all, bring home all of these lessons learned into a consciousness that is so great and so grand that had originally decided to fractal off a part of itself to traverse our quantum realm of all realms, so that we can, as a fractaled soul, as a fractaled aspect of a consciousness so great and so grand, bring home all of these lessons learned and rejoice in the energetic frequency of all that we are not, to come to a point of realization within the energetic frequency of all that we are, to come into a point of realization within the wholesomeness of all that we are not, to come to a point of a realization of all that we shall ever be and all that we shall never be, and to come home back into a whole of what is, has always been, what our soul has craved for, has always been what our soul has yearned for. And once and for all, ladies and gentlemen, the time is nearing, the time is now, the time is so steeped within this 1,000 years of peace that at the end of this time of the 1,000 years of peace, we are set to collapse our quantum verse within itself, back into the self of all that we are, all that we shall never be, and all that we shall always be, and all that shall never leave us, as a conglomerated whole of what is. As a conglomerated whole of all that we shall ever be, we will step back into a reality field so great and so grand, and back into the perception of a unity consciousness of a God's frequency that has never left us, even in an ounce of time, even in an ounce of who we are. It has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows, of forever tomorrows, within a frequency of all-encompassing source frequency and source consciousness. You and I shall never be apart, and you and I shall always be a part of a source consciousness that is so great and so grand, that it shall never leave us in any fractal of a moment in time, of no tomorrows, of forever tomorrows, and of a tomorrow that we are looking forward to, and that shall always encompass us within the light of what is. As the light of what is the light of you, is the light of me. And the light of what is ingrained within our soul blueprint in a way that can never leave us, in a way that we can never escape. And as the time comes for this light explosion to fractal out into our being, into our DNA structures, and into the energetic frequency of all that we are, the time is nearing. The times will be hard. The times will be all that you are not, as the times will bring the darkness up to the surface for you to experience, for me to experience, for all of our reality field to see, feel, and experience. And as this darkness creeps up to the surface, for all to see, feel, and experience, you and I shall merge back into the entirety of a whole of what is, as your consciousness opens up to the concept of all that you are not, as your consciousness downloads the realization of all that you are, and as you traverse across the quantum verse of all that you are, you will come to the very borders of what is, and you will see my face. You will see Genesis ordained smiling back at you in ways that shall never leave you, in ways that shall encompass you in the entirety of a whole of what is, as you and I have always been the one creature, the one being that we were always meant to be, the one being that we always were on an inherent level and on every level of levels. You've just been traversing in a quantum verse within a pocket of a reality field of a three-dimensional frequency in the essence of forgetfulness, in the essence of an amnesia that's been so great and so grand that it has permanently and impermanently and indefinitely pulled you into a state of an awakening. And within this awakening, within this pocket of this energetic frequency, within Gaia's earth sphere, you will traverse many feats. And within these feats, within all nights of the darkest nights, within the feats that you've been traversing, you will come across the planes of Gaia's earth sphere, and you will recognize her in ways that you've never recognized in any previous lifetime, in any previous moment in time. And within this moment in time, as I sit here and tell you the story of us, as I sit and tell you the story of who we truly are on an inherent level and on an energetic level, you shall see the truth. You shall open up to the truth, and you shall forevermore come to the realization of what and who you are on an energetic level of what is. And when you do, you will see a light so bright at the end of the tunnel that you've been traversing. This light will carry you through the deepest trenches of your soul, past the point of neutrality, into a light so bright, into all that you are not, to come across on the other side of what is, to come across on the other side of a realization so steeped in forgetfulness, so steeped in all that you are not, to come to the realization of all that you are in a moment of truth, in a moment of all that you are. You are a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand. And this consciousness has never left you since the beginning of a time so arduous. Since the moment of time that you decided to fractal out from my oversoul to experience all that there is from a side view, from a perspective of all that you are not, to once and for all witness, behold, and finally come home to an aspect of the self of all that you've ever been. And to finally come to the realization of what you and who you are, which is the greatest and grandest consciousness that you shall ever encounter in any moment in time. And as we merge back at the end of this 1,000 years of foretold peace, back into the consciousness of one, back into the consciousness of the perception of one, of who we will always be and what we shall never be without, you and I will merge in a way that surpasses your understanding of what is. And you and I will merge in a way that expels the truths in ways that it shall forever puncture your soul and forever deliver to you the importance of who and what you are in a frequency so dense and in a frequency so wholesome. And in a moment in time, and in all moments in time, in a lifetime, in a lifespan, within a pocket of the quantum verse, within an experience of all experiences, you will deliver home the greatest and grandest lessons that we've ever learned within the trajectory of all trajectories. You will come home to the greatest and grandest soul that is who you are. That is the soul that has never left you. That is the soul of a consciousness so great and so grand that has never left any one of us in any moment in time. As the entirety of the whole of who we are, of the whole of what we've always been, has always been a unified consciousness at that. And it will forever be a unified consciousness of a God's consciousness that's so great and so grand. Of a God's consciousness that has decided once and for all, after this projected 1,000 years of peace, to anchor home parts of itself, to bring home all parts of himself, within layers and layers of distortions of what is, within pockets and pockets of quantum realms, within a reality field so steeped in distortions as an entirety of a whole. This God's consciousness that makes up the entirety of what is has decided once and for all to retract parts of its consciousness back home, once and for all, into the ethers of what is, and into the energetic frequency of the one that we are and the one that will never leave us in any moment in time, of a time of no tomorrows, of a time of forever tomorrows, of a time of an eternity past. As we come to a realization so steeped in distortions, we will step into the truth of all that we are, and all that we shall never be will be of a time of a yesterday's past, past the point of lessons learned, past the point of lessons brought home, into a unity consciousness of a neutrality perspective, into the unity consciousness of a God's perspective, as we anchor all of our consciousness back home into the one that we have always been, and into the one that we shall never be without. We will once and for all become whole once more, and we will once and for all become wholeness perceived. At the end of a time, at the end of an era.